It's time and we have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. Item 1 on the agenda, confirmation of minutes of meeting. The minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of March have been forwarded to members. The Secretary has not received any proposed amendments from members. Could we please confirm the minutes, members? Thank you. Item 2, information paper issued since last meeting. That's one from the administration. Information on the financial position of the Applied Research Fund for the period of the 1st of September to the 30th of November 2012. Now this has been issued to members. Item 3 on the agenda, date of next meeting and items for discussion. The next meeting will be on the 18th of June, Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. Proposed items for discussion: 1, trade relations between the mainland and Hong Kong. The other, progress report on research and development centers 2012 to 2013. So these are items 1 and 2 on the list of outstanding items for discussion. Members, any comments, or do you wish to propose other items as well? No? Then, on the 18th of June, we will be discussing these 2 items. Okay? Mr. Chung Kwok Pen wrote to me on the 13th of May. He proposed to discuss the Import and Export General Amendment Regulation 2013. That is the formula milk ban order. He wants us to discuss whether it's against GATS of WTO, but the administration has already given a written reply. But Mr. Chung is out of town today. The Secretary has checked with the assistants of Mr. Chung if Mr. Chung has any comment to the written response of the administration, and Mr. Chung has said that he has no other comments. The second letter was from Miss Emily Lau on the 16th of May. That is, in our March regular meeting, we talked about the staffing arrangement for the SAR officers on the mainland. She would like us to take up this item. Ms. Lau's letter is CB 11064-02. We have copied the letter to the Constitution and the Mainland Affairs Bureau. The administration will be responding to this letter. And unfortunately, Ms. Lau is not present here today, so we cannot really follow up on this. Now because we have such a packed schedule, I don't know if we have time for a special meeting. Perhaps we could wait for a response from the CMAB first. Oh, good. Ms. Lau is here. Ms. Emily Lau is here. We're just talking about the letter that you sent to me. We have copied it to the CMAB. They will be giving a response. Would you like you asked for a special meeting. As you know, we have such a packed schedule of meetings. And of course, not long ago, the mainland ETO's representatives came to give us a report. I really don't see that we could find time for a special meeting. Perhaps we could wait for the CMAB to write back to you first, see if you're happy. If not, let's wait for that, because we don't have time. What about July? I'm worried. We have a packed schedule. What's so hectic in July? We'll see. If we have time, definitely we'll follow up on that. Please try to do that, Mr. Chairman. Of course. But let's wait for a written response first. Yes, ask them for a response. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh. Next, item 4 on the agenda. Report on the progress of implementation of the dedicated fund on branding, upgrading, and domestic sales. Could we invite the administration representatives, please, to come in. Permanent Secretary, welcome to the meeting. We have from the administration Mr. Andrew Wong, Permanent Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mrs. Alice Cheung, Deputy Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Brian Low, Deputy Director General of Trade and Industry, and then from the Hong Kong Productivity Council, we have Mr. Tony Lam, Director, Corporate Services. Welcome to the meeting. Permanent Secretary, are you going to take us through the paper? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just say a word or two. Good morning, members. Now, we have submitted the paper on the implementation progress of the dedicated fund on branding, upgrading, and domestic sales, the BUD Fund. Perhaps I will take a minute to say quickly. Well, Mr. Chairman, you might recall, we wanted to help local businesses to capitalize on the opportunities arising from the National 12 Five-Year Plan and build the market in the mainland. So last year, the government introduced a $1 billion BUD Fund to provide funding support to eligible Hong Kong enterprises and non-profit distributing organizations such as trade and industrial organizations, professional bodies, or research institutes, is to help them promote the business, the sales in the mainland. Well, last year we came to seek members' views at this panel, and with your support, in May last year we received a funding approval from the Finance Committee. And then on the 25th of June last year, we launched the BUD Fund. The fund has been in operation for close to a year now. In the paper, we have reported that as at the end of April 2013, we have dealt with 3 batches of 537 applications from either businesses or organizations. 98 applications have been approved. For 58 applications under the Enterprise Supporter Program, conditional approval was given. That is, we have asked the businesses to give further information or clarification before we would give approval. But in principle, we've approved those cases because we find that they deserve support. Now, this paper is on the progress of implementation of the BUD Fund, the processing time required for applications and the processing criteria. And also, we have analyzed the nature of the projects, the distribution, trade distribution, the size of projects, so on. And we also see how marketing and promotion are done and so on. So far, the fund's been operating well. We understand there's actually quite enthusiastic response from the sectors. We're soon to process the 4th batch of applications, and I understand there are over 100 applications ready in the 4th batch. Of course, we will continue to monitor the operation of the fund. We will perfect the operation as far as possible. And perhaps I will stop here, and I'm happy to take questions from members. Mr. Charles Mock. I thought someone would speak before me. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, from the start, the fund focuses on the mainland market. And some in my sector have asked, apart from the mainland, is there any chance of the scheme being opened up to other markets, maybe not around the world, but at least Asian markets, Taiwan, and so on? because some businesses may not just want to promote the businesses in the mainland. Maybe they also need to develop their business in other places or countries. So is there a chance of it being considered? Mr. Chairman, members might recall the Bud Fund was launched in response to the National 12th Five-Year Plan, because one of the key points in the 12th Five-Year Plan is about promoting domestic sales in the mainland. And so the government responded to the aspirations of the sector. And that's why this fund has to do with projects to do with the mainland only. But if some enterprises wish to open up other markets, there are existing initiatives under in the government to help such a promotional effort. For instance, we have the small and mediums, the SME marketing finance scheme, and this year we're proposing to increase the cumulative grant from to $200,000 as the cap. And then for that scheme, there's no restriction on the market. If SMEs wish to promote the business in a particular market, there's no restriction as to which market they go to. Mr. Andrew Lau. Now, this fund's been in place for about a year, and there have been many applications. Now, but how do you track such applications as to whether they're successful? Because they want them to upgrade or build a brand in the mainland. So what sort of follow-up action do you take so you know that the projects are successful? And if they encounter problems, is there any mechanism to help the applicants in taking forward their projects? Now, of course, after we've vetted or granted applications, as we mentioned in the paper, we have a duty to monitor the progress of or the implementation of the projects. The Hong Kong Productivity Council will help us. Now, depends on whether the project periods is within 1 year or 2 years. We asked the applicant to submit report, and when the project's completed, they must also submit audited statements of account. And then we also do spot checks, random checks as to how the projects are being carried out. Now, if in the course of implementation they come across problems and they need assistance, under the Trade and Industry Department we have the SME Support Center. And if they ask for assistance from the Hong Kong Productivity Council, the HKPC would provide advisory service. So we'll monitor whether they achieve their deliverables and how they do it. Now, we've only just approved the 3 batches of applications, and all these projects are still in progress. So we will follow up on these projects, and the applicants have to submit reports to the committee. Tony from the HKPC, anything from you? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will track the successful applications very closely. We'll see how they're doing in taking forward the projects, and if there are any issues, we try to find out what they are. And in the process, if they require other assistance outside of the projects of the grant given, then we'll see if we could offer any such assistance. So we try to give them support. Thank you. Dr. Lam Tai Fai. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Export business is really tough these days because there are so many uncertainties in the economic prospects. Branding, upgrading, and domestic sales. Yes, that's a good opportunity for the sector. That's why I've always supported the Bud Fund. But for a dedicated fund of this sort to work effectively and properly, it's not just about giving money. Software and other support are important. Now, many of us are, of course, involved in domestic sales in the mainland. The chairman, is very experienced. Some have made good money like the chairman. Others have failed. Of course, we don't want people to fail. We want everyone to make so much money like the chairman. But of course, we can't all go and ask the chairman what his experience is because he's such a busy person. So in terms of software, I think the government ought to provide some support to the sector. There are many provinces and cities in the mainland. For some provinces and cities, actually, there's not yet a mature market for branding and upgrading on our part. But then for other provinces and cities, they welcome Hong Kong businesses to go there. Now, I've just been to Zhengzhou in Henan. They have a population of 100 million, so it's a huge market. I wonder if the government could work with the provinces and cities. At least the Department of Commerce should be made aware of this Bud Fund. And SMEs, you ask them just to go in and find their own way. While they will lose your grant, they will lose their own capital as well. So we should pick certain cities, maybe not the first lines cities. What about second or third line cities? You could talk to those departments in those places. They make them aware of the Bud Fund because many provinces and cities come to Hong Kong to try to attract business. So maybe you could work with them, and it may make the scheme more effective. So can you do some promotion on the mainland as well about this fund? Now, this fund's been in operation for a year now. I'm happy to hear about successful cases. What about the failed cases? Maybe it's too soon to see failed cases, but maybe when you vetted the applications, you find some of the projects didn't work. So could you not give advice to these people so they could adjust their proposal, and then eventually they could go into the mainland market? And is there certain particular trades that in which you have seen more applications, like in electrical appliances, clothing, or whatever? So we know, then the businesses will know. Don't even think about doing clothing business on the mainland because there's so much competition already in the mainland and so on. So perhaps in terms of information and software, could you give more support to these sectors?
Let me respond to the question. On mainland provinces, at the moment we have a lot of communications with the Guangdong province. And in response to the National 12 5-year plan on the domestic demand in China, the SAR government has implemented measures to support enterprises to expand their footprint in China. We have close cooperation with the Guangdong province, and every year in conferences we exchange progress on the dedicated fund. And we also work with the Commerce Department, and we also introduce the fund to them. If you have any, if you feel we can work with particular provinces, we can certainly communicate with them. A lot of times, enterprises do not submit adequate information in their applications, or sometimes what they want to achieve is not cannot be covered under the BUD fund. And we do not wish to see that see enterprises only wanting to promote their companies in mainland for a few months, and we are looking at a holistic approach, whether it's a mature business idea. And sometimes small enterprises want to promote themselves in the whole China in a very short time. So in such cases, it's not very realistic. And in other times, the accounts of the enterprises might not be very clear. But every time we would tell the enterprises their reasons for success or failure of the application. And through the Hong Kong Productivity Council, and they have done a lot in promoting the fund and also the nature and procedures involved with the fund. And the Productivity Council also hopes to arrange a few sharing sessions within this year to educate different enterprises and share cases of success or failure. This would help them better understand what are the criteria for successful applications, or successful or failed applications. This will help enterprises understand what sort of information is needed for a successful application. And in response to Dr. Lam's question again, and in the documents, as you can see, in section 14, it covers the applications by industry. There are a number of industries covered, business and commerce, IT, etc. All the statistics are listed, which you can take for reference. Thank you, Permanent Secretary. Yes, any follow-up? Chairman, the upper limit of the fund is 5 million Hong Kong dollars. I think enterprises who apply for this fund would not be very big enterprises. It should be $500,000. For individual enterprises, the upper limit is $500,000. It's impossible for them to enter the China market with $500,000. And some enterprises might not be aware of this upper limit, and they might attempt to promote themselves in the whole China, because enterprises all want to make full use of the fund. How can we let the whole industry and more enterprises know more about the fund? A lot of some enterprises might want to do food and beverage businesses in China, in Shenzhen, in Zhuhai, and that's why I think it's important to bring this message across. And we cannot only think about chambers. talking about the Guangdong province, this is not enough. Just now I talked about Henan province, which has a population of 100 million people. Can we look at other provinces which have potential? Can we look at which provinces have the biggest numbers of individual travelers to Hong Kong? And can we gather more information between different departments to better implement the fund? We can certainly liaise more with different provinces and cities. Regarding FIT travelers, most of them are from Guangdong province. We will enhance our communications with different provinces, and we'll also make use of our offices in China to assess which provinces have great potential for promotion. And regarding Hong Kong enterprises, apart from the chambers, under the website of the Hong Kong Productivity Council, they organize a lot of activities for such enterprises. Through our Guangdong office, don't forget that the fund is for branding and upgrading apart from promoting domestic sales. And we do introduce this fund to enterprises in the Pearl River Delta so that they can make applications when necessary. Permanent Secretary, you should educate the industry better in order to help them to upgrade. If you do not amend the Section 39 of the Inland Revenue Ordinance, all our discussions will be in vain. Permanent Secretary, just now Dr. Lam said that I've been successful in domestic sales businesses in China. That's not the fact. I have a question. You mentioned you have 100 successful applications, and the success rate is lower than 30%. From what you said, the applications were evaluated by the Hong Kong Productivity Council. Chairman, we have 3 levels of adjudication. First, the Hong Kong Productivity Council will check whether the basic criteria are met in the applications. In some cases, if their business plans are not about branding, upgrading, or domestic sales, they would be screened by the Secretariat. And as you can see from our statistics, some enterprises have withdrawn their applications after consulting with our Secretariat because they do not meet the application criteria. And thirdly, after the first round of screening, the Secretariat will look at details of the application. The Productivity Council will look at their business plan in detail and finally, myself and professionals from the industry who are very experienced would vet the final stage of the application process. In some cases, the business plan is right to points and all the accounts are very clear, but whether an enterprise is able to implement their plan, oftentimes our panel of industry professionals will be able to give their advice whether the business plans are practicable. And sometimes we cannot just follow the rules, and as you can see, all the applications go through a number of levels of adjudication. And there is a lot of work before we can decide whether to grant an application or granting it with under certain conditions. And we are talking about applications from enterprises.
So you're saying there are people from the trade to help you. Well, the Program Management Committee, I'm on it, and the Director General of Trade and Industry, all other members actually from the trade. $500,000 for promoting domestic sales is a small sum actually for the businesses. Well, how do you expect them to succeed? Well, what is the objective of the grant? How many of them do you expect to succeed? Because the success rate might be low. But the government may give them $500,000. The business may spend $500,000 too. So it's just $1 million. It's very small a sum. If they are ready to make it work, do you still give them other support? Last time when we went to the Finance Committee, we said for individual organizations, the enterprise, the assistance cap is $500,000. If they make one application for $500,000, and under this particular fund, there's no other way we could help the same enterprise. But of course, if for the first application of this enterprise, it's not up to $500,000, the enterprise could come back again for to apply for more, up to $500,000. But it's important that the business makes clear in the proposal what they plan to do with the money. Maybe last time they said they want to promote domestic sales, but maybe this time they say in Guangdong we want to do a pilot project, we want to start so many shops, or maybe want to do promotion online and marketing online, for example. Because Mr. Chairman, perhaps online business is easier these days given the scale of the market. Maybe they say they plan to complete this project in 18 months or 24 months. What indicators are there? Maybe within this 18 months or 24 months, with the money we give them and their own investment, what do they wish to achieve? And as I said, they have to submit a report at the end of the project, and then we will ask them to explain in the report. Okay, originally you set out to do in this project, and how much have you achieved? So this is what we will follow up on. Mr. Chang Lai Wan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, the chairman was right. $500,000 for promoting a brand is a small sum. But then this sum of money is not just for brand building. It's also about upgrading and transformation. Now, I think it's inconceivable. I don't know how this brilliant idea scheme came about, really. Anyway. Okay, since this fund has been launched, I wonder if your scheme is targeted at small businesses. Having heard from the Permanent Secretary, So it seems that your target is mostly small businesses. And you say you have received 404 valid applications, 77 were approved, 53 applications were approved with conditions. So altogether 130 applications approved. Apart from the organization applicants, how many small businesses are there and how big are these businesses really? Mr. Chairman, for the majority of the applicants, they are small businesses. But of course, if members are interested, we could provide more figures afterwards. Most are small businesses, but occasionally we may have some applications from the bigger businesses. For example, in the manufacturing industry, staff size of 1 to 9. Applications approved in this group, 104. So for the majority of the businesses, they are small in size. You mean under 9 employees? Yes, correct. That's the number of applications. 104 applications for non-manufacturing industry businesses with employees under 9, 140 plus applications. That's why you can see the majority of the applications are from small businesses. $500,000. Members asked if that's a small sum. Of course, we have to bear in mind we're using public money to fund individual businesses. So when we went to the Finance Committee, we had to strike a balance somewhere. We talked to many businesses. They said, yes, under this scheme, we appreciate that too. Now, with $500,000, it's not enough to build brand or for marketing or for businesses to upgrade and transfer. But then we've heard from businesses that some money would help, because some wouldn't even consider such a move without the government assistance. With the government assistance, at least they would take the first step. And that's the whole idea of the fund, is to help businesses take the first step. And about upgrading the machinery or the production process, for these businesses, $500,000 would help. So the sum is really more to encourage businesses to start. Mr. Chairman, of course, we can never say that one scheme will definitely be successful, the other one will not. Anything that could help the business sector or small businesses to get started, I think, yes, it's a good incentive. Permanent Secretary, I wonder, well, in future, I'm going to have comprehensive report. You're going to do an evaluation of the scheme. So how are you going to do the evaluation? How many cases are successful, and what do you consider to be successful? So, Mr. Chairman, I know, of course, in business, it's not the case that every idea would always be successful. There are always risks involved in doing business, of course. So under the scheme, it's hard for us to require businesses to definitely make money in future. Now, that would be difficult. Yes, that's why I want to know how you do the evaluation. Well, as I said, say within 12 months or 24 months, they may have so many, they may plan to do so many promotion sessions, how many customers they plan to reach out to. In their proposal, they would have such indicators. So in their final report, we would ask them to tell us, as they launch these events, whether they're able to achieve the indicators or the objectives they have set for themselves. And of course, in our vetting, we will consider whether the objectives are good ones. If the objectives are not practical, of course, the application would not be approved in the first place. Mr. Chairman, I think it's good for the government to set aside this money to help the business, the commerce and trade sector. But I'm worried, I'm concerned whether the scheme will be successful. because we're spending money this way, and if it's successful, maybe we'll consider something similar again in future. But if the scheme doesn't work, then maybe we won't do it again, or we may do something else. So that's why it's important we have some sort of evaluation criteria. We have to decide whether the scheme is successful or not, but how do we do it? I hope that in the overall report you will give us more information, because even you would want to know, right? You have spent this money, is the scheme successful or not? Maybe the idea came from you as Permanent Secretary. Then you would want to know whether the scheme works. But you can't say, well, it's hard to evaluate. We can't judge by whether the business is making money or not. No, but of course, if it's a shoddy product, you won't approve the application in the first place. But if the business, the enterprise fails to get any business at all, then something's wrong with the way you assess the application, right? So we need more information so we know in future whether we could come up with more effective and better policies that could help the business sector. Mr. Chairman, this is a progress report, and this is a 5-year scheme. We will come back every year, I'm sure, to this panel to report to you the progress. Now, we have considered 3 batches of applications, and the scheme has only just started. Perhaps next year or the year after next, when we come back, we may have more information for members. That is for the projects we've approved. They have there are certain deliverables. Whether they're able to achieve those deliverables, we'll be able to tell. For the first batch of applications, I remember we approved that in September. So those projects have only just started. Now, eventually, if they're able to achieve what those businesses set out to do, and whether we're happy with what they pledged to achieve and they've achieved, well, then we'll see. Then we'll do an assessment to see how much the scheme is helping businesses. Thank you. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure we've all heard how SMEs are struggling. Fuel costs have gone up and wages have gone up. And in the past few years, it's true, Hong Kong has benefited from the individual visitor scheme. But it's not true that every business has benefited from the scheme. For the top-end shopping malls, those shops are all selling overseas designer brands. And for this small local designers brands, they couldn't afford the rent. But of course, at the same time, we understand. So that's why we understand branding is important. Now, the government setting up this bud fund to help Hong Kong businesses to build the brand, and I support that. But then it really cannot be done overnight. It's important to build a market. But in the Hong Kong market, rent is so high, it's tough. Even the mainland market is not that easy. I heard from many SMEs. Actually, the amount they get is really not enough. It's a small sum. In the mainland, there's so many different provinces and cities. If they have to go into each city, it takes a lot of time and money. And the one feedback I've heard is that it takes rather long for the applications to be processed. I wonder if there's anything you can do here. I also heard from the jewelry industry. Last year, export of jewelry was worth over $160 billion. It's a huge sum, about 5% of total export. Many are now exporting to the emerging markets like in the Middle East. And in the emerging markets, export is growing by double digits. Now, they said that, okay, this bud fund could help Hong Kong businesses to rig into the mainland market. But what about the other markets? Could they also get assistance if it's not a dedicated fund? Now, first, can you not change the scope of the dedicated but fund so that applications could cover not just the mainland market but other markets as well? And about simplifying the procedures, Permanent Secretary, do you have any sorts of pledge? Let's say someone hands in an application, you will give a reply within a certain period. And how much flexibility is there? Because many have no experience with such applications. From what I heard from them, actually you may come back and ask them questions and they may not be able to answer those questions. If that's the case, how do you help them to file their applications in the first place? Mr. Chairman, for emerging markets, now this is a dedicated fund for the mainland market only, of course. But for other markets, well, we came to this panel sometime earlier to brief you on the budget proposals. We propose that for the SME fund, support fund, we're going to increase the cap to $200,000. I understand this Friday the proposal will go before the Finance Committee. We hope the Finance Committee could approve the proposal, and that would help the business sector. Because if it's not the mainland market, it's about other markets, then this scheme would help businesses to promote their business in other markets, especially the emerging markets. The vetting or the application procedures. Now, as soon as we receive an application, HKPC colleagues would liaise with the businesses concerned. They will communicate with the businesses to make sure that all the required information is provided. Now, sometimes the processing may take long as possibly because after several rounds of correspondences, the business still fails to provide the required information. We understand, as Mr. Lam put it, for some enterprises, maybe they are really small in scale. They have no experience in applying for government funds before. So that's why later on this year, the HKPC has plans to conduct sharing sessions on successful and failed applications. Hopefully it would help businesses to understand what sort of information they need to fill in when they put in an application. And I understand actually Hong Kong PC is being very helpful. Now, if an applicant doesn't know what sort of information is required, Hong Kong PC takes great pain to explain to the business what's needed. Sometimes the application takes a long time to process because sometimes the businesses take a long time to provide the required information. For every batch of applications, there is a definite deadline. For example, if the deadline is on a certain day in a month, then in the meeting in that month, we would decide whether we would approve the applications. But if by the deadline, the business is still unable to submit the information required by the Secretariat, then this application will have to be considered in the next batch. That it means the following month. That's the reason. Actually, the Secretariat has a huge workload right now. It's exactly because the SMEs don't have much experience here. Sometimes they want to make use of the marketing activities of the TDC. They may want to apply for funds to join such activities, but maybe because of the to and fro of correspondences, or because you ask for too much detail, sometimes they miss certain exhibitions or fairs. You know, and it's too late. They missed the boat. They couldn't do anything about it. If they have stated they're going to a particular fair or promotional event, would you then process those applications differently? Of course, they must state so in their applications. Or maybe you could ask them, okay, you're going to do promotion. Are you going to join any fairs or exhibitions hosted by the TDC or the HKPC, for instance? And then you could help them to process the applications as soon as possible. Mr. Chairman, as I said, we asked the business to come up with a proper proposal for participation in individual events. I can tell you, if they tell us that they're going to join particular event, then already we consider it a complete proposal. But very often we receive proposals to say that, okay, I want to do promotion in the mainland market, I'm going to do promotion in the certain provinces or cities, but they are not able to give details about what are the channels they're going to make use of in doing such promotion, or the objectives of the promotion. Then in those cases, we have to find out from the applicant exactly what they plan to do under this application. If, as Mr. Lam put it, they've already stated that they are going to use a certain channel to promote their products, for instance, through the Taobao site, already these are applications that could be dealt with quickly.
Chairman, I think today's discussions are very pragmatic and useful. The Permanent Secretary explained very clearly in his documents. Just now, as you said, 500,000 is not a big sum. And I agree with the Permanent Secretary because it's public money. And if we think about the number of applications can be up to 2,000, it's not a small fund. The government can never possibly guarantee that the applying enterprises can always make money. But the fund only serves to give them a chance to succeed. So my question is it important for us to let more enterprises know about the fund? I think it's important to give them greater software support. If enterprises are given $500,000 to promote themselves in the mainland without any guidelines, this might not be a good scenario for them, and they might end up losing an extra $500,000. So I think the government must provide software support, personnel support, or networking support for these enterprises. If they go to other provinces and try to liaise with the commerce departments, they might not be very successful, and it might be very hard for them to reach the right people and to communicate with the right people. So apart from offering the $500,000, the government should give greater support for the enterprises to communicate with the local authorities. The road to success for most enterprises is very, very long, and if you can achieve it within 5 years, it's a job well done. So can the government provide the right atmosphere and encourage these SMEs to enter the gigantic mainland market? And I think this is very important. Chairman, the Bud Fund is one of our initiatives, and you are very right that this fund cannot solve all problems in branding, upgrading, and domestic sales for enterprises in China. Through the HKPC and our cooperations with the chambers and our China offices, we do a lot of work on the software infrastructure. Through the Hong Kong PC, we introduce the fund to the industry, and we work with the chambers and HKPC to create new platforms in the mainland for enterprises to test the waters in terms of whether their products would fit in the mainland markets. For example, the Hong Kong Design Gallery, we have allocated extra resources We hope to explore more platforms in the mainland for Hong Kong enterprises to test drive their products in the mainland markets. And it's very important for them to know whether their products are popular in the mainland. So these are some of the works we would continue to do in the mainland. And in Hong Kong, we also host a number of seminars and other activities to help the SMEs understand what they have to do to promote their businesses. Permanent Secretary, as you mentioned, the Hong Kong Design Gallery, there is a problem. If you want to do branding, it's not equal to retail sales. For example, food and beverage businesses are also big brands, and some people think that branding equals to retail sales. Cosmetics, fashion, household products. This is not the case. Branding is more than sales. Take tourism as an example. Even the entire tourism trade is a brand. So we have to give support to different enterprises in different sectors. And I'm only worried that the government would favor certain industries and in its fund. We should cover all the industries which would possibly enter the mainland market, and not just focus on a few. Chairman, we have received more than 500 applications, and most of them were from the non-manufacturing industry. These include F&B enterprises. Some of them are education brands, local education brands, which provide products which are designed in Hong Kong and made in Hong Kong. And these are more service-based or concept-based businesses. And in terms of the Bud Fund, we receive applications from all sorts of industries, logistics enterprises, advertising firms, transportation firms, traditional manufacturing firms. We receive applications from all kinds of industries. At the moment, we do not only promote the fund to manufacturing businesses or chambers. This fund is for all industries and trades. As one of our aims is for enterprises to upgrade themselves. Chairman, we welcome all sorts of applications, but for the applications we've received so far, we have received more applications from non-manufacturing enterprises. I would like to respond to your question, and the reason why non-manufacturing enterprises make up the bulk of the applications and that's because these non-manufacturing enterprises have great difficulty in upgrading themselves, and that's why they are applying for the fund. And I understand your points. Right now, the major cities like Shanghai and Beijing, and it's relatively more difficult for enterprises to succeed. I think you should encourage these SMEs or small enterprises to look at the smaller cities because they would have greater chance of success in those cities. Chairman, I completely agree with with this point. And as we vet the applications, when we see small enterprises try to go into big cities like Beijing and Shanghai, their chance of success is relatively small. And on the other hand, we also support enterprises who are trying to enter smaller cities. Any other questions? So, Permanent Secretary, as you can see, most of the members are very supportive of the Bud Fund. So hopefully we can have a more updated progress report in the future. So discussion item 5. The fostering the development of intellectual property trading in Hong Kong. Would the government representative, please? Mr. Gregory So, welcome. Welcome, Mr. So, Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development. And Deputy Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. David Wong. And Director of Intellectual Property, Mr. Peter Chung. Welcome. Thank you, Mr. So, for attending our meeting today. So, thank you, Chairman. Intellectual property trading refers to copyrights, designs, royalty, semiconductor layout designs, trade secrets, or plant varieties, etc. In recent years, the IP rights trading has been very immense in recent years, and this means a lot of business. Hong Kong has a prosperous trading market, and we have a complete system for copyright protection and intellectual properties. And all these IP trading has supported our commerce and industrial activities, and these all help Hong Kong become a center for IP trading. And these also foster a lot of high value added jobs, and this also helps promote our creative industries. In terms of Hong Kong's industries, especially SMEs, our dedicated fund would help the enterprises upgrade and brand themselves, and there will be a greater demand for high value added services such as IP management and consulting, arbitration, accounting, valuation, etc. And this would benefit from the development of IP trading. And the chief executive mentioned this year that a task force would be set up to promote IP management strategies. And the working group would be chaired by myself. And the members would make up of various IP professionals, creators, and intermediaries, and would include representatives from the government and the Hong Kong PC. And we have established 4 initial objectives: enhancing the IP protection regime, supporting the creation and exploitation of IP rights, and fostering IP intermediary services and manpower capacity, and also promotion and education of IP rights. And the details are listed in Appendix C. The government has established clear strategies on these fronts, and for areas number 3 and 4, these are relatively new, but we have already pursued a number of initiatives on these. The Hong Kong BC and Hong Kong Design Center have organized seminars on IP rights in Asia. And these seminars were actively participated by various IP professionals across the region. And this year, the government will again work with those organizations to organize the Business of IP Asia Forum and consolidate Hong Kong's position in Asia as a hub in IP trading, and also to foster IP trading activities in China. The workforce will have further discussions on the strategic supports. In the longer term, the working group will establish strategies and establish Hong Kong as a knowledge-based economy. And these would foster the use of IP rights and also encourage enterprises to make good use of their IP rights. And this would also drive our creative industries, and I'm happy to take questions. Thank you for the detailed reporting.
Mr. Charles Mock. Thank you, Secretary, for the report. IP trading. Of course, the IT sector very much welcomes it. But of course, we do not want the policies to be formulated with only focus on the legal aspect. Because there's IP related to R&D outcome, or it's also very much to do with the legal aspect. But we don't want Hong Kong just to become an IP center in a way that what we read from news now, people are just speculating on IP rights. No, we would like government policies to help promote R&D. So I hope there will be the right balance struck. Paragraph 8 of the paper. I think what is most important, as we said, is whether we could create good high value added job opportunities, because we want the trade to develop, but there must be good jobs. So these would be popular subjects that students take up, for instance. And of course, such effort has to tie in with the innovation and technology policies. Because very often the support policies of the Innovation and Technology Commission might be involved. For example, whether an overseas company is willing to set up an R&D base in Hong Kong, it involves the policies of the ITC as well. So how could we help promote the development of IT trading? For example, big corporations, are there any initiatives to bring them to Hong Kong to set up their R&D base, as well as to promote IP trading for these corporations? And I hope the working group would also consider doing more promotion in the science and technology sector, so the sector knows how they could become involved in the process. Because for many local businesses, they may be in the R&D field or in science and technology and innovation field, but maybe they don't have much knowledge about what can you do about the IP trading aspect of things. So what sort of promotion would you do in future? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Mark. For IP trading and management, it's not just to do with high value added legal services. In Hong Kong, we have an advantage in developing an IP trading center, because in the financial services sector, we have a good foundation for the financial services and the insurance services. So it's not just the legal sector. The financial services sector would benefit from such a development. And then for professional services, lawyers, accountants, insurance sector, valuation, arbitration, mediation, all these sectors would benefit. And of course, a very important aspect of IP is about creative industries and innovation and technology. So if there is a good market, there will be a stronger demand, of course. And there will be much more room for developing science, innovation and technology. And of course, our taxation regime, we have low tax system, we have good business environment. This would all be appealing to multinational corporations and even small businesses. And how do we, just now there was an item on promoting sales in the mainland market. Maybe SMEs could consider licensing or franchise arrangement. And this would be a quick way for large-scale promotion of products, of course. And of course, our geographical position is important. We are right next to the biggest market in the world. So whether there could be two-way exchanges, of course. And for the business sector, for our innovation and technology sector, they have an international perspective of things, so that's important too. So we have plenty of advantages, and there's plenty of room for development. And in terms of innovation and technology, of course, there must be supporting policies. That's why in Annex C, we have spread out the initiatives we have now. Whether they're sufficient or not, well, we will have to, we are in close liaison with the sectors concerned and the stakeholders, so we could then listen to the views and see how we could further promote IP trading and innovation and technology. Now, I'm Mr. Mark Foss knows I'm a member on the Digital 21 working group. On many occasions, we've discussed the issue of promotion, because we need to tell the sector know how they could be involved in IP trading. And I find this a really exciting subject, because by leveraging on IP trading, we could create high value added job opportunities and business opportunities. Thank you. Ms. Chiang, line 1. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a number of questions for the Secretary. Perhaps you could be concise in your reply, then we could save some time, because many are keen to ask questions. So we have plenty of time tomorrow, not to worry. Oh, you said so? I didn't even impose a time limit today, right? I think it's good that I can see you, face to face. Okay, Secretary. Patent to design, so on. There's some regional factor. Something may be recognized in Hong Kong, but not elsewhere. So would you work at gaining recognition of the IT trading platform in Hong Kong by more places? And would you also try to introduce a scheme with the mainland on mutual recognition of patents? Perhaps I should ask all my questions, otherwise you will give such a lengthy reply. So please jot down my questions one by one, Mr. So. On R&D as a percentage of GDP is minimal, 0.7% of GDP actually. That's what R&D accounts for. Compared to our neighbors, they have 2%, 3% of GDP. Korea, South Korea is 3% of GDP. And our chief executive said that for Hong Kong, at least, we should bring it up to 0.8%. Now it's 0.7%. So when can you boost the R&D share of GDP to 0.8%? And you mentioned intermediary services, IP management, etc. You know that as soon as we set up an IP platform, there may be many intermediary services coming on stream, like IP, arbitration, accountancy, evaluation, financing, blah, blah, blah. So have you done any studies here? Do we have enough manpower in all these service sectors? Maybe accountants. There may be many accountants in Hong Kong, but they need to have IP background. They need to have IP expertise before they could serve the sector. Another question is about the internet. You know, it's so easy to upload and download. So how do we perfect IP protection? I think a lot of activities online, that's a very important aspect we have to consider if we are to build an IP trading platform. How could we stem out such problems? What strategy have you got up your sleeves? I think we have something called patent design, right? I wonder if you recall it, Secretary. Many people wanted to create their own designs. They want to register in Hong Kong. And then they find there is no such patent system in Hong Kong. So is there any progress here? If we don't even have such a patent system ourselves, how are we going to trade IP rights? How do we even start a platform on IP trading? Now, these are just my first round of questions, so take your time to answer. Thank you, Ms. Chong. I have jotted down 5 questions in your first round, so now I'll reply. First, whether there is any geographical boundaries and that may affect our patent system. Now here we're talking about IP trading. There are many possibilities in IP trading. There are many different approaches. Maybe you could, in a contract, you will state clearly which IP regime is recognized in the contract, you know, in a particular country, for instance. And then perhaps I give you license to do such work in certain areas or places. So yes, there would be geographical boundaries which will be spelled out in contracts. Now, Hong Kong is a small area. Would it be affected in any way? No, because it's a matter of the contract terms agreed upon between the two parties. As for our liaison with the mainland, perhaps the director could answer that later. It has to do with your question number 5. Now, with IP trading, would we be able to boost the GDP share of R&D from 0.73% to, say, 0.0%? I believe with IP trading, it would promote R&D activities, or drive R&D activities, rather. Is in original design, original patent, these don't have to be embarked upon in Hong Kong. It's important we have homegrown inventions, but it's not essential because we could bring in inventions from other places, but the IP trading is done in the Hong Kong platform, and the IP is managed here, that's all. So, of course, there is need for customization. That is, the invention must meet geographical needs, for example, in terms of the design or the R&D outcome that may have to be supported by some local R&D organizations and so on. So we hope that with good trading activities, then it could help to promote further commercialization of R&D results. Do we have enough manpower in the intermediary services? Now, do we have enough practitioners? Well, that's exactly where our advantage lies, because we have professionals in the different fields in Hong Kong. Maybe you've never heard about IP trading or IP management center. Maybe you are not familiar with the concept, but actually we've had such activities all along in Hong Kong, just that we don't call them an IP management center, that's all. So we do have the professionals here in Hong Kong. We have plenty. This is, in fact, our advantage. And with development of IP trading, hopefully we could bring about more high-value added job opportunities, as I mentioned. So IP trading would hopefully bring even more people to work in these services. Unlawful uploading or downloading, do we have any policies? Of course, in terms of IP protection, Hong Kong is doing quite well. It's exactly because we have good protection of IP in Hong Kong, so that's why overseas investors are happy to come to Hong Kong to engage in IP trading. Patent. We mentioned in the panel that we're going to have an original patent system, but that takes up a lot of resources, so we'll do it step by step. We'll start with a contracting out approach, and we'll in terms of vetting patent application, but then we will be bringing in more technology personnel to take up such tasks. In the long run, we are moving towards our original patent system, because in places which are successful, they always have their own original patent system. And perhaps the director could tell you more about our interaction with the mainland.
We have decided on the concept of original patents. In Hong Kong, we are training professionals on patents. Our initial idea is to make use of the existing Patents Bureau and provide the technical expertise, and hopefully in a few years Hong Kong will reach international standard on this front. With the necessary technical support, we would be in a position to reduce unnecessary procedures and to streamline the patent application process. We must lay down the groundwork first before we can have further discussions. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Chang, is this the second part of the question? I believe I still have time. Chairman, what time would our meeting end today? Please reserve some time for other LegCo members to raise questions. Please continue. Next time, please, I suggest to use a clock so that I know how much time I have. Okay, I will pass it up. Mr. Liao. I was a bit worried that Ms. Liang might go on. I have two questions. Last time over lunch, we talked about this issue. Last time I had to leave early, unfortunately. I'm not very worried about the professionals, the IP professionals we have in Hong Kong. However, I think we lack professionals who have expertise in valuation, and we need more professional talents to evaluate IP properties. One question I have for the for Mr. So is whether we have enough, what kind of support we have to train such professionals. In terms of IP trading, evaluation is extremely important. So this is my first question. And the second question, it's about financing. When we talk about IP trading, we are talking about big transactions and cutting-edge technologies. As a financial center, does Hong Kong have the necessary supports to foster IP trading, and what specific initiatives or ideas do we have, and can you share these ideas with us? Thank you, Mr. Liao's questions. Earlier, I had a lunch sharing with Mr. Liao and an international IP professional, and he mentioned a few factors in IP trading, and as Mr. Liao said, he agreed that Hong Kong has enough professionals in IP trading, and the transaction amount is very big as well. And in terms of evaluation, if we want to build a more holistic system to allow these transactions to run smoothly, as a platform for IP trading, I can consider Hong Kong a pioneer, and we are at the forefront in comparison with other countries. And issues such as financing is exactly what our workforce is set out to do. And we haven't reached that stage of the discussion first, so I do not have concrete ideas yet for today's meeting. When we look at what other countries are trying to do in terms of IP platforms, most of them haven't reached great maturity. And what we are trying to do in Hong Kong is to create a satisfactory environment for businesses to conduct IP trading in Hong Kong. So evaluation and trading are very important issues. Ms. Emily Lau, I'm sorry for being a little bit late because I had another meeting earlier. We see a lot of discussions online about Mr. Cheung. I hope Mr. Cheung can talk more about the IP ordinances. A lot of the majority of the public agree with your work, but some people are concerned that we have stepped over the line. So can Mr. Cheng please explain more about the IP ordinance? I have mentioned a lot of times we do not know who the members are. So a lot of members are not familiar to so many of us. So I think the authorities should let the public know more about the identities of the members. Thank you for your questions. These questions have no direct relations with our discussion topic today, but nevertheless I'll try to respond. On the amendment of the Copyright Ordinance, as you might know, we have passed the amendments last year. And during our previous administration, we had a lot of cases to pass, and the amendment of the Copyright Ordinance has been postponed until this term. In the last term, we did not cover issues such as imitation or parodies. In recent times, a lot of countries have amended their relative ordinances on parodies and imitations of creative works, and we have consulted different parties, and hopefully we can bring the discussion to LegCo very soon, because we have to reference the works of the ordinances of other countries as well on this issue, and we must move with the times. But the freedom of speech would never be compromised, and this is for sure. I hope different parties can strike a balance in terms of copyright owners and users. Coming back to the workforce, I hope the Permanent Secretary can make a brief introduction. So thank you, Chairman, and Ms. Lau's questions. Our workforce consists of a lot of professionals from different trades who have provided valuable opinion for us. Some of them are industry professionals, inventors, creative professionals, etc. Our members also include representatives from IP intermediaries, legal experts, evaluators, insurance professionals, IT professionals, etc. We hope there's an alignment between the government and the trade. I hope after the meeting we can see corresponding documents. This is very important. I hope the authorities can provide the documents to help us understand who these members are, because we have no idea who they are, in fact. My feeling is that the IP ordinance has nothing to do with IP trading. I know some industry professionals are very concerned on the issue, and they want to push it through as soon as possible. I'm not sure why the ordinance is not covered in all our documents. And if we don't face the reality, we can never solve the problem. I hope next time in our meetings, we should mention the ordinance in our background documents. This because these issues are certainly very relevant. IP rights involve a wide spectrum of items. Copyrights is one of the items. Today we are not here to discuss the copyright ordinance. However, I nevertheless respond to Ms. Lau's questions on the copyright ordinance. I think the copyright ordinance is very important because we have invited relevant professionals, IP professionals, to join us. I do not see what political stance has any bearing on this issue. As the Permanent Secretary has just said, all the relevant stakeholders have spent a lot of time and efforts to contribute their expertise in the workforce. I think Ms. Lau's suggestion might not be a bad idea. I think you should provide more background information of these members. I think all these points have all been agreed. So please carry out a round of internal discussions later. Any other questions from other members? Secretary, I think this is a very big business opportunity for Hong Kong. As Ms. Chang said, in terms of expertise, we need professionals for evaluation. It's important to train more professionals like such. I have a few suggestions. As Ms. Chang said, research and development, the ratio in Hong Kong is relatively low. The government should do more. But I think it's not just the government's work. The percentage, the 0.7% in terms of R&D are mostly contributed by the government, and there's very little contribution from the private sector. And in countries like the United States, the situation is quite opposite, whereas the private sector invested the bulk of the money in R&D. I think the R&D efforts should be done on a voluntary basis by the enterprises. But if the government wants to push the percentage to 3 or 4%, it will be very difficult. I hope the government can make use of the existing IP policies, but at the same time, they also have to think about how to encourage SMEs to invest their own money in R&D. But then all these come back to questions like whether there will be tax concessions for these enterprises and whether we have enough professionals. I think we have enough expertise, but we are not giving them enough opportunities, and so they are, and that's why they go on to take up other jobs. As now, a lot of our graduates do not see a future in the IP industry, and so they decided to take up other jobs and careers. I think the government should make good use of these policies and encourage more work in R&D and training IP professionals.
I agree with Mr. Charles Moore. It's important that the businesses are involved in developing R&D. It's true 60% of the R&D are now funded by government resources, but that's actually the core idea. It's hoped that with IP trading and management, then we could converge R&D activities with business activities. Now, when that happens, there will be more business participation in R&D. It's hoped that through our IP trading and management, we could promote that development. And you're right to say that, Mr. Mark. In the universities, students mostly focus on legal studies or business studies. So for R&D, we need to give them incentives, for instance, for probably. And if there could be better convergence between the R&D sector and the business sector, then we could then create more high-value added job opportunities. And in turn, we could probably do more in training of talents in these fields. Thank you. Secretary, give more incentives to interest the businesses, if you could. Mr. Wong, my apology. I was at the Electoral Commission meeting. Yes, I know. So many meetings have clashed. On the 10th of April, the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment of Hong Kong published a proposal on turning Hong Kong into an IP trading center. I'm sure you've got the proposal. So in terms of policy, manpower training, and so on, I hope you will give your full support and promote IP trading in Hong Kong. Now, about setting up an IP trading center, if we want to do that, we must make sure we have good R&D. Because if we don't invest in R&D, it's just lip service if you say you want to promote R&D. And we haven't invested enough in the past. It's only 0.7% of GDP. That's R&D expenditure. During the election, the Chief Executive, Mr. C.Y. Leung, stated in his election manifesto that he would boost investment in this field. Well, it's not a huge boost, but at least it's a boost from 0.7% to 0.8% of GDP. But when could we achieve that? Secretary, do you have any plans to achieve this target? Again, it's about a roadmap and a timetable. Do you have any? Secretary, thank you, Mr. Wong, for your question. Yes, some time ago I received a proposal on IP trading and management from DAB. I've read many proposals. This is one with concrete details that you've done a lot of research, I can see. In terms of IP trading, of course, R&D is important. And apart from R&D, we also have creative industries, brand building. Let's say if I have a brand, then I could trade brands through, say, licensing or franchise arrangement. And coming back to technology, just now Mr. Charles Mock mentioned that the government fund some 60% of R&D, 40% come from the business sector, and we hope to plow in more resources in boosting R&D share of GDP. And it's hoped that with some IP trading and for R&D activities and business activities, they could converge, and that will help to boost GDP share. We're still in the early stage of considering these matters. It's hoped that with the views after we've got views of this council and other sectors, we'll be able to boost the percentage soon. Thank you. Mr. Dennis Kwok. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Annex C to the paper. Paragraph 7A. There's mention of the Hong Kong International Arbitration Centre. I've recently met the Secretary General of the Arbitration Centre and relevant personnel. Now, the government gives them resources to go and promote Hong Kong as an international arbitration center, but there are not enough resources. They hope that the government will give them more so that they could actually promote Hong Kong as an international arbitration center around the world. I understand from them every year they get about $400,000 for the entire international arbitration center for the purpose of promotion, so it's a meager sum. And there's a fund from which they could apply for more resources, but then for many years there's been no fresh injection to that fund. They see that the fund is being depleted, and at the same time they receive very little assistance. So could you give more resources to bodies like the Hong Kong International Arbitration Centre so that they could go out and promote Hong Kong's arbitration services? It's not just arbitration. Mediation is important too. Now, arbitration on IP rights, that's one aspect. The other is general arbitration. In the working group, we will consider strategies on arbitration in relation to IP rights. Perhaps I could find out from Mr. Kwok after the meeting which fund you're referring to, and see whether we could follow up on that. Professional Development Services Assistance Scheme, PSDAS. They said they usually get funding from that scheme, but for a long time the government hasn't made any fresh injection to the scheme. There's just $2 million left. They started with $100 million, so the fund is almost depleted, and they're really worried how they're going to do promotion in the future, where they'll get the funding from. Yes, I will find out. I and our colleagues will look at the operation of the Hong Kong International Arbitration Centre. We'll do that. So, Secretary, please take it up with Mr. Kwok. Any other questions, please? No? I think the panel supports IP trading in Hong Kong. Okay then. Thank you very much, Secretary, for coming to the meeting. Nothing under any other business. So thank you, members, for coming to the meeting. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.